have to wear the headphones. It's just so you can hear the quality of it.
You need to test my microphone.
And you can tighten it if you want to loosen it down. Yeah. One way is tight, one way is loose.
There you go. You need to test it now.
Yeah?
You need to make a test.
Yeah, I did.
Or you already did?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You ready? Alright.
Oh, so whatever I say, you already know that it's something happening.
They're both connected to the same thing, yeah, so like, it should work. Alright, welcome back to episode 7 or 8 of Sharp Edge of the Word with Yezen Amra. I am your host, Yezen Amra, and today I have a special guest, Mr. Victor Quinteros.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm good, how are you doing? So, we actually met in Staten Island, right? You're the first guy I met, and we met by a pretty interesting coincidence. I was walking my dog, Mika, and you were walking Jack.
That's how it is.
Yeah, that's how it was, yeah. And then we just clicked automatically, right? Because we're love of huskies.
Of
and,
course.
yeah, we're both different, weird kind of guys. And so tell me about your story and like, you know, where you're from, what's, you know, how you, we'll get into the photography and the fashion later, but right now.
Yeah, the beginning, well, let me say that I came from Lima, Peru.
Okay.
And I reflect myself having my first Siberian Husky, and in Lima we are close to the water, so from my house I was able to see the water from the top, because my first dog that I had showed me that she wanted to go up to the top of my house and she was able to see the water.
Uh-huh.
And that was amazing because I didn't realize that I was able to see the water from home.
So you learned something from your dog, yeah.
And when we meet, we were by the water in the Staten Island.
That's right.
And it's just a connection of the places, you know?
Yeah. So your first Siberian Husky her name was Riza?
Riza, yes.
Yeah. And I saw a picture. She looks very similar to Mika as well.
Yeah.
So I know you have a very high affection for Mika.
Definitely.
And actually, you're going to be adopting her on Tuesday.
Can you imagine? I mean, I'm so happy to have that opportunity. And
I'm very glad that,
yeah.
I feel bad because every time I freak out with Mika, you're the first person I always call, right? Like, I'm going to give her up, and you're always like, no.
Yeah. And you know, you don't need to feel bad, because when I was in my end of my teenagers years,
yeah.
I was always very busy doing things, and I didn't have time to dedicate to my dog. And you know, and now I can host Mika. I feel so happy.
I'm very thankful. I mean, I'm at a point in my life, like you said, like I'm trying to travel a little bit more, do a lot of stuff. And for me, I don't feel as bad because I know you love Mika, and I know Mika will do very well with Jack and Zeus.
Yeah.
So I'm just worried about the alpha hierarchy, you know, because they say two alphas can't be in the same pack.
They kind of manage the situation already, because Zeus is very alpha oriented.
Yeah.
But Mika knows how to manage that.
Yeah. Yes, she's a very free spirit. Exactly. She doesn't have for herself. So yeah, on Tuesday you'll be picking her up. Yeah.
Yeah. Seems like it's gonna be a very interesting meeting, no? Yeah, and what is interesting is that connection between us and the water, you know, being close to the ocean, and our love for dogs, and the fact that we like traveling, you know, we both like traveling.
And we're both in the creative arts, kind of, right? You're in the photography, I kind of like to do the comedy, so yeah, I mean, I think that's the one thing I miss from Colorado, especially, is there's not a lot of water. That's the one thing that.
Oh yeah. When I live in a place that is far from the water, is you are or a mountain person,
right,
or a water person.
Yeah.
There's no
in between. Right, exactly. Yeah.
You know, or forest.
Or the forest. True.
Those three are the main ones.
Right. Yeah.
No, so it's very difficult for someone that is a water person to be in the middle of the mountains and not feel like it's time to go.
Yeah, you're right. So tell me about your journey into fashion photography, and like, you know, how that morphed from you being into Peru, because I know you dabbled in that over there, right? And then you came to the States.
Well, yeah. Because
so tell me about your story. Yeah.
I was I was interested in fitness.
Okay. Yeah, you used to be a bodybuilder, right?
Not necessarily a bodybuilder. In that time, it was all my instructors were Jane Fonda fans.
Jane Fonda
So my
fans.
previous generation.
This is in the 80s or 90s?
80s.
In the 80s.
So I'm talking about my previous generation, my teachers.
Yeah, yeah.
They were all about Jane Fonda and Olivia Newton-John. You know, physical. That they
and
were
the unitards, the tight one piece.
Yeah. And I was like the millennial of that time, you know.
You're the hipster.
We were like, oh, but this looks like all this. We need to. We were the colorful lycra people.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
That all these colors and lycras and when you go to the gym, you know, you see 200 girls, all wear with tiny translucent lycra attires, and they were all fit.
Yeah.
You know, they were like 99%. Everybody was in perfect shape.
Right.
You know.
I feel like a lot of people in South America, especially Colombia and Peru, right? They're very fitness oriented.
Very fitness oriented.
Yeah.
It's interesting because most of the things I did as a fitness professional, because I become a fitness professional and I was coming to America every year to train myself.
Okay.
Is that the things that we promote in fitness in the 80s and the 90s are still going down there. They still use the same motto, the same promotions.
If it works,
you know?
if it's not broken, don't fix it.
And I see the stuff and I say, oh man, that's all. I will not do that anymore. But they are still with the motto of what we did 20 years ago.
Right. Yeah.
No, it's interesting because you know, you build something to improve the life of people. You know, and I say it's obsolete for me now because I know that stepping too much can be not good for the knees. You know, I will not recommend that much now. That like I did when I was in my 20s. I didn't knew that it can be hurtful at some point.
Right.
Now, and now the trend is more like into yoga, into Pilates,
yeah.
all those things. And my motto now is to rediscover whatever we did in the past, in the times of the Olympics in Greece, you know, which is a very real inspiration for fitness, you know,
right.
and even older than that, being too close to Jack and Zeus remind me the times in Babylon where the kings used to play with tigers.
Yeah, the wild beasts.
And it was true. Those tigers were probably little, and they grow with them.
Right.
And part of the power of the king was the fact that we showing off that he was in power of the tiger.
Right.
So that was probably not just imagination. That was probably a real situation.
Yeah.
You know?
Interesting.
That's why when you go to the Babylonic archaeological places, you see the tiger as a symbol that is repeated thousands of times. You know, even in New York, we have in the Met Museum a couple of images of the tigers with the king of Babylon. You know, you cannot understand that very well if you are not so attached to animals like we are.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
that's very true. Before I had Mika, I was not very close. I didn't have that connection with the animals, but now, like, I really feel there's like a strong connection there. It's not with people, it's with animals.
And now, for example, we are I was looking on Facebook and social media, and they were encouraging us to celebrate a celebration of lights, no?
Okay.
Which is related to Hinduism, and I was asking myself, why in the Occidental world we were not so attached to the light? And I made my search, and I figured out the reason. The reason was that the name of the devil was Lucifer, and Lucifer means that one of the most important angels was the angel of the light.
Right, and then he fell.
And
God.
he overpowered his capacity and fell to the dark. And that's the reason why, most people in the Western world, we don't celebrate the light.
Interesting.
Because we know what happened to us because of celebrating the light without respecting God.
Right.
Interesting.
Yes,
no?
yes, yes.
No?
We also have that history.
No?
We also geek out on history together,
Uh-huh.
so we have that connection. So how did you transition from fitness into fashion?
Well, that's I'm gonna explain to you. I had a relationship, and this relationship collapsed. It's
Okay.
my teenager
Young love,
Yes.
you fell hard,
Yeah.
and then you.
So I said, I'm gonna switch. I'm gonna switch from fitness to fashion. At the end, I was a model. I was called by one very important model of that time that was a model for Vogue magazine.
Mm-hmm.
She selected me from the gym. It was easy. I was a young guy. I was 8% fat, you know. In a second, I was on the most important runway in Peru.
Nice.
You know.
Yeah.
And I was already a TV personality because of fitness.
Right.
So it was like everything was coming
It was
so
a
quick
smooth
to
transition.
me.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
it was, and I took advantage of it.
Right.
I took advantage of my fitness celebrity status
Mm-hmm.
to mingle with the most important models in a way that they look at me like something else.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because not because I want to, it's because even the people that were serving at the hotel recognized my face and they were treating me like royalty.
Uh-huh.
And I was like trying to be humble, but at the same time, I was people were impressed.
Right.
And maybe I was impressed too because I was mingling in an area that I was not fishing like in a tent yet.
Right. You weren't comfortable.
Yeah.
Right. 100%.
And I was looking at the models having their own private hair and makeup professionals working for them.
Mm-hmm.
I remember a guy that was so worried about his eyes and contacts, and they were very famous models,
Yeah, yeah.
And I was just a young guy, and it was
You were just taking it all in, right?
a beautiful first experience. I remember a lady called Susie Dyson. She was screaming to everybody, "Hey, guys! Listen, you need to follow what I'm saying because none of you been in Paris. None of you been in Milan yet."
Yeah.
And I was listening to her and I was like, oh damn man, I'm so into, I am so pretentious because I'm on TV and she's reminding me that I'm not in New York, I'm not there yet.
Yeah. It was a very humbling.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it was that was a beautiful start for me into the fashion world.
Okay. And then after that, you fell in love with it, and that was your passion.
Yeah. The owner of a company that was representing Diesel Jeans and Calvin Klein, she basically contacted me and she wanted me to work for her private exhibition, and I was a master in steps. So I was dressed in jeans, doing all these like. Today will be compared to hip hop moves on top of a step, which is what I was using for fitness.
Okay.
But she was using it like a choreography for her line,
Uh-huh.
and she won the best presentation of a brand inside the Fashion Week that year.
Right.
So it was really a beginning that was up to the top.
Right.
And that's how I started to dedicate and focus in the fashion world and leaving the fitness field for this and I'm still doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
So after you made the transition into fashion, you moved to Houston.
Well, I spent several years in South America working on television, working in presenting. I had the first a full 2 hours fashion TV show
in Peru. Nice.
So it was a lot.
Yeah.
And it lasted for a long time, and I was working with Gatorade, for my fitness career for like more than 8 years, and Diesel Jeans.
Okay.
So I worked for Diesel, for Calvin Klein, for Benetton, and at some point I said to myself, okay, what's next?
Right.
I want to start working with the elegant clothes. I want to dress like Hugo Boss. I want to you know, I want to use these brands, and I found out that probably if I want to do that transition, it was better to look for a new place.
Right.
And that's why I decided to come to live permanently in America.
So how long? When did you make the move?
It was like year 2000.
Okay.
In year 2000, I was on TV. I had a fitness TV show.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, I was coming back to fitness after all these years of fashion.
It called you back a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was doing this TV show called K Fitness.
Okay.
And I had a new system called K Combat.
Okay.
And I was making interviews with karate or taekwondo instructors because it was something I used to do too. So in that moment, I decided to make a presentation from the Grand Canyon. And I went all the way down to the Grand Canyon to make my presentations for my TV show. And I went to Miami to work some presentations out. And I had an accident in my bike, you know?
In your bag?
I was riding my bike, and I had a little accident. That was not a little because I had to do some surgery on my face.
Really? Your moneymaker.
And that was, it was dramatic because I had to stop being on TV.
Yeah, I bet. What, did you have to get stitches or what?
Yeah. It was bad.
Oh man.
So nobody believed me in Peru. They were thinking that I was just basically moving to America.
And just gonna leave everything out.
Yeah. And I have my tapes, because I always, every month I was giving my tapes, you know, to the channel for them to transmit information.
Right.
I had the tapes ready, everything was ready, but no, I was not there. Victor is leaving us. You know, when I saw that situation, I said, you know, maybe it's better if I just do what everybody's thinking I'm doing, you know, just move, instead of traveling all the time to America, just, you know, make a change.
Yeah.
You know, and because of my issues in my face, I say, you know, I need to stop and make a change. And I decided to stop, and I decided to move because I went back to Lima, you know. I came back, but this time not to Miami anymore. It was not possible. Every single Latin American person likes to go to Miami for fun.
Of course.
And I was looking to go to a place where I can be more quiet and take some classes, and I decided to move to Houston, Texas.
Okay.
And that's how I and in Houston.
So when did you move to Houston?
No?
What year? 2000?
2001.
2001, okay. And then you settled there for...
Yeah, for a long time.
10 years?
More than 10 years.
More than 10 years,
yes.
Okay, wow.
12. And I went to Houston, University of Houston, and I become an internet professional, you know, doing
graphic design, and that's very important these days, especially for branding, you know.
Yeah, well, one of my most important TV shows in Peru was called Connection, Fitness, and Fashion. And I had, you know, the beginning of the internet, where I don't know if you remember that there was a huge thing about Yahoo, Jocities, and AOL, and it was like a boom. And I was part of the boom because I had a TV show called Connection, Fitness, and Fashion. We knew that the internet was not working as fast as it works right now. But we had the television, and I had a vision to connect the internet with the TV.
That's forward thinking, that's very progressive.
And it's still in the name, you know, and that's how I started. And then I realized that probably it was good for me to study some deep everything related to the internet. And that's what I focused when I moved to Houston. You know?
So you're not afraid to adopt early technology and then use it with your passions?
Not at all.
That's very, very,
Because I become as a fitness and fashion professional, I was easily connected with the fashion world in Houston, and because of the things I used to do on the internet with a technology called Flash, that now is probably most likely like After Effects of Adobe right now. People in LA and New York were thinking, what the hell is going on? That in Texas we have this kind of thing going on in fashion.
But because they're too slow to get on the speed of the internet and everything like that.
I got called in a second, and I started becoming a fashion photographer in the events in New York Fashion Week 15 years ago.
Yeah. Okay. Wow.
And it's in New York, when I was having some drinks with a few ladies after a fashion show, that they asked me, "Where are you coming from?" And I say, "I'm coming from Houston, Texas." And they asked me ironically, "Is there fashion in Houston?"
And a lot of people don't know that though, right? There is you every year or twice a year you have an event there.
Yeah, but by that time there was no fashion week in Texas, and I say, hold on a second, women in Texas, I mean, they can probably afford to buy everything that you are able to do in New York.
For sure.
So why we don't have a fashion week in Houston?
So you saw an opportunity there.
Yes, and that's what I got. Dallas, Austin, San Antonio.
You do the whole Texas
circuit.
I
trademark the whole thing.
Yeah, wow.
And I make a website, and I say, let's create something new. Let's create a new concept. And listen, this is more than 10 years ago.
This is more than 10 years ago. Okay.
And I said, why instead of having a runway, we use the typical runways that you have in the airports as our runway.
Okay. So
and why instead of writing what you want to write, why we don't push buttons to go from Austin to Houston to San Antonio, And I had a vision to do the touch screen before the touch screen existed.
So you're saying Steve Jobs should have tapped you for?
Man, I created the website,
Yeah.
And suddenly everybody wanted to have a fashion week. Someone else was copying the fashion week in Austin when I was building the one in Houston. But there's something they were not able to do. I already registered all the names in AustinFashionWeek.com was mine already.
Oh, that's smart. Yeah, there you go.
And of course Houston, and I was able to show everybody and remind years later that no, I was the original builder of the Fashion Week brand.
That's your baby. Yeah.
Yeah. And the idea was to connect to New York, so that will answer before you ask.
Yeah, I was going to ask you next question. You already know. Go ahead and tell the story. Yeah. How do you make the transition then from Houston or Texas to New York? Where I guess Houston, you already had built up your brand. You already built up your.
I was building the brand, but people in Texas was spending too much time trying to find the credibility of the Houston Fashion Week brand that was a baby, and they were like, okay, why we did? I mean, I was basically guilty of being the one creating the concept. When there was already a lot of model agencies down there that they were doing fashion shows, but they never called it Fashion Week.
But you were the one that actually put the name on it and the domain. So
exactly. So I have to deal with all of them because they had two choices: to be with me or to delete me, and they choose to delete me.
Okay.
So it was not an easy development because, I was not a guy crossing the Rio Grande, which I respect very much.
Right.
I was already a guy for more than 20 years in the fashion world.
Right.
Working in New York. So I said, I'm gonna move to New York because what Texas needs is to be connected. To be connected to continue the development. They cannot be just trying to pretend. They have to be connected.
I see.
And I make a big sacrifice because Houston, Texas, in Texas in general was like a country for me.
Yeah.
Going from Houston to Austin, San Antonio, going to Dallas, it was like a new country.
For sure. Yeah.
And I had to, to make a decision and to say, if I did it one time from Lima to Texas,
you can do it again from Texas to New York.
I'm going to do it again. And I moved to New York.
What year?
And, that was 6 years ago.
6 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was already a photographer in New York Fashion Week, so I become a local photographer now.
Okay.
It was different because I decided to move somewhere more quiet, which is Staten Island.
Right.
And I didn't realize that Staten Island, it was
completely different from New York City.
A different story. Said, why we don't have our own Staten Island Fashion Week? And I make my own territory of development inside New York,
there you go.
Supporting the borough, Staten Island,
right.
And at the same time, I mean, nobody can say that New York Fashion Week Staten Island it doesn't have the character or cannot exist. Of course we.
Oops, sorry about that.
What happened?
Just another recording. All right, we're back on. Test a little. Oh, sorry. Oops.
We lost everything.
No, it's there. Okay, so so we're saying Staten Island character for the Fashion Week. Oh, sorry, put on the right one.
I hope we didn't miss.
No, we have it all. I have it all.
I like your laptop.
Huh?
I like your laptop.
Okay, so sorry about that. You were saying that, so you carved your little kingdom in New York and in Staten Island, you made the brand, and now what were the issues you had to deal with that now? Recruiting models, getting them to come on time to Staten Island, like how was...
Well, you know, I noticed that because of my worries about building a brand that is solid and has a consistent presence,
Mm-hmm.
I moved to New York, and I realized that New York was not really taking care of their identity to the point that here we have 3,000 fashion shows running.
Mm-hmm.
You know, instead of having an organization that is focused, we have so many things going on, and I was trying to protect Texas, not to be in the same page, be more focused in their development.
Mm-hmm.
So I came here and I realized that having Staten Island as my way to express our editorial interest,
Mm-hmm.
we were able to help New York stay focused and keep that focus. Because, for example, Vogue magazine only covers around 300 fashion shows.
Okay.
Of those 3,000.
Right.
You know? And me myself, of course, I want to be connected with a good editorial quality production,
Right.
which is what is New York. But then the people from LA start trying to make presence in New York with a motto that is completely different of a New Yorker.
Right.
You know? And me myself, I represent Texas. I'm trying to create our own identity in Texas.
Right.
I think the best way to do it is supporting New York to keep their identity.
Mm-hmm.
At the end, I represent a borough, which is Staten Island.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And from that end, we are very, very into supporting New York to keep its identity, because we think LA, I mean, they can love fashion, but they are too Hollywood for us. And it's true.
Yeah.
You know, I love the runways, the choreographies, the musicians, the celebrities, but you know, I learned from New York since the beginning that New York is about the clothing, about the way everything is built, about the designers.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
and we like to keep that focus, and that's the orientation that I bring to Texas. You know, in Texas, compared to other organizations, they bring all these celebrities from all over America. We focus in promoting the local designers from Texas.
Which is very important, yeah, especially for fashion. I feel like it's very hard for people to get in, right, to the game.
Yeah, yes.
So you're helping newcomers.
Exactly. Every year we support a new group of people, designers, to be able to express their ideas and build a fashion week.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
and that happens in Houston, in Dallas, and in Austin, and San Antonio following.
So how do you think social media is helping, like with brand building and connecting designers and photographers?
Social media can be
Double-edged sword, good and bad.
yes,
Yeah.
but we are society-wise, we are learning to read internet properly.
Mm-hmm.
We are learning to read social media properly, to identify things better.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because everybody can make a statement on the web, but the statements of the future are about connecting dots, connecting groups, supporting each other. When you support each other as a group,
You get higher, quicker,
you know,
more. Yeah.
yeah, and people know that you are not just a one-hit wonder.
Right.
You are
a support
a team.
Yeah. I feel like that's very lost today. Everyone wants to be their own one-man show.
Exactly.
In comedy, fashion, I mean, it goes across the creative arts.
Exactly. So it is the ones who are able to connect, the ones that are going to step ahead.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. That's very.
And that's what we are trying to do. I mean, that's why I'm so happy that we are friends. You know.
Yeah, me too.
Because we can connect. We can.
Bounce ideas off each other, you know, talk about weird things like history and dogs, and yeah.
We can interact and we can learn from each other. That's how you grow.
For sure.
You know?
Yeah, and outside your comfort zone, right? Outside your circle.
Exactly. Always looking for something new, for something different. Every day is an opportunity to build.
So where do you see like fashion going in the next 5-10 years? Like, where do you see the most growth and the things that maybe it'll be phased out?
I see.
Especially with photography. I mean, do you feel like with people, now that everyone has a high-grade iPhone or the cameras, do you feel that it's...
You know, I'm very futuristic oriented. I always be vision guy.
Mm-hmm.
I think fashion is going to be connected with more electro technology.
Mm-hmm.
Temperature of the body, a relationship between inlets, and a way for the body to read
mm-hmm.
through the clothing,
mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. A way to identify people in case something happens,
mm-hmm.
To be able to locate people, because we have rigid technology right now.
Right.
The phones are rigid. If you touch your phone, it's a rigid technology. We are going to switch from rigid to flexible.
Integrate, yeah.
And flexible is going to integrate. So then clothing is going to be more attached to technology.
Mm.
And that's the future I see on my mind, and I want to see
the runways.
In the runways, in textures, there's the first approach that they make with colors. They put the colors on the runway with the models, and the colors can capture the feelings of the people. But it can be dangerous because everybody can be having the feeling of looking how hot the model is.
Right. Instead of looking at the.
So all the flashlights are gonna be red.
No.
And so sometimes technology can point you directly to something that is not necessarily the 100 colors that you want to see.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is gonna tell you what is it that people is looking for.
Right.
Right. So sometimes technology can be a little bit more too rebelling.
I see. Yeah.
So that is interesting because it's a new energy that we can use.
Again. Sorry about that. We still have everything, don't worry about it. Okay.
Everything to a point.
No. So yeah. And then how do you Jack and Zeus are also in some of your fashion runway shows too. How you've integrated them, right? Is that a challenge to get animals in, safety-wise? I mean, for the models.
It can be a challenge, definitely. But I also learned that there's ways to integrate. I mean, I can have 20 huskies on a runway if I want to. I'm not gonna say.
I feel like when I give Mika to you, one of my fears is that Mika's gonna get more famous than me. You know what I mean?
Don't worry about that because, Raisa was a champion before me. Because I spent 5 years to become a national aerobic champion, fitness champion.
Uh-huh.
The first year she was the best of her class. I bring her to a competition,
Oh yeah?
Yeah. She was so beautiful that I decided to bring her to the canal competition, and that's what I did. I was just, a spoiled guy with all the money of the world, bring my dog to the most important competition. And I had all these huskies and their owners, and I had these people that their job is to breed dogs.
Right.
And they were presenting their dogs.
Uh-huh.
And I was with Raisa in the middle of all these people with my beautiful dog, and they start looking at me and say, that she's not gonna work. I mean, why are you wasting your time here? That bag doesn't look right. No, forget it. I hire a walker to walk my dogs for me in the show. He presented Raisa, and Raisa walked. Of course, you know, fitness people, we know how to walk.
Okay.
And she goes to the park, and you see how I do that with Jack and Sus.
Right, yeah.
She was the perfect poser. She presented herself better than all these dogs. She won.
She won?
She won the whole competition.
Wow.
And, you know, that means that sales for them were bad.
Yeah.
Because they were not having winners. The winner was Raisa, my dog.
That's awesome.
Interesting, eh?
Yeah.
And I know what I did. Maybe that time I was not sure about it, but because I spent so much time working Jack and Sus, I can tell how they have this proud image of them walking to take the ferry.
Yeah.
When they are walking to the ferry, they walk like proudly showing, I am Victor's dog. And they are with the chest walking. They are very beautiful in their walk.
I remember one time my father was in New York City visiting, and we went to go get Indian food on, I think in the West Village, and I tied up Mika outside. And I was sitting by the window so I can look at Mika every time. And I looked once over and she wasn't there anymore. So I started freaking out. I went downstairs. I was like looking for my dog. Some guy on a bike was like, hey, are you looking for a husky? You know, she's down the street that way. So I go run, and Mika's just acting like the street is hers, you know, just walking very proudly.
Wow.
And not a care in the world, you know. So for me, it's like, I know Mika can handle herself. I'm just worried about other people, the reaction with her, especially people that aren't good with dogs.
Well, you know, every time I leave my dogs, I was thinking I came from Texas.
Yeah.
So, you know, you just put your dog somewhere and you
people
tie.
In America, no, you can't do that. People freak out.
In 1 second, they say,
animal cruelty.
Yeah, somebody leave those dogs.
Yeah.
You know, they
care more about dogs than they care about people. Yeah.
But they also automatically think that you abandon your dogs.
Yeah, and they want to save them, or like
they are saving the dog, and you are.
It's only white people, though. It's only white people.
You think?
Yeah.
But you know, it's well, I don't want to put any label in this aspect, but it's like they freak out. That's for sure.
Yeah.
You know,
and it makes you feel bad. You worry about your own capability and how do you take care of a dog, but in the end, you know what's best.
They know nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
Because, for example, Jack, he likes to
sing.
He likes to sing, and everybody thinks he's saying "I love you." You know? So actually, people start feeling like he loves them.
You know what you should do when you think about doing when you get Mika? You should make an Instagram account for the Huskies in Staten Island, and just take videos. And I know I would be a big fan of that. And but yeah. So anything else you want to close up with? I mean, you wanna give us your website, any future dates, events coming up?
Well, I am now focused in the Fashion Week season, and I know this podcast is gonna last for a while, so I want to invite people to visit my projects at HoustonFashionWeek.com,
okay,
for example.
And I'll put a link on the website if you guys do. But
and I do have my editorial work. I am building a network called Victor Magazine, that also they can find on the internet as VictorMag.com.
VictorMag.com.
Yes.
Okay. Nice.
Yes. You know, those are my website. Everything's connected.
Right.
I am very thankful with my company GoPro2.com that I built to create websites. You know, and I never imagined that there was a camera called GoPro.
Yeah.
That was coming, but that was after.
GoPro.
That was I was the one who registered the name a long time ago. And
so they tried to buy it from you, or what?
No, they never did. They bought GoPro, which was the name of another guy from Miami. That name was taken too.
Yeah.
But they took it, and they I mean, I like the camera companies. the camera company is very cool,
Mm-hmm.
but I was definitely a photographer and a cameraman before they even exist.
Yeah.
You
So
know?
what kind of
Interesting, you know?
what kind of cameras do you work with? Like what are your
You know, I use Canon and Nikon are
Okay.
my favorite cameras, and now I am doing a transition to use the new non-mirror cameras. They are a lot flat.
Okay.
And
More
smaller.
digital? Or
It's very digital.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
And I am looking to build all my Victor magazine production with the new technology.
Nice.
I always into the new technology.
You gotta be, yeah,
you know?
yeah.
But for curiosity and to finalize, I went to a store and got like 20 old camera books.
Yeah.
Because you know there's always something good that you can learn from the old.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And you have all these editorial editing topics.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And I basically translate from analog
Analog, yeah, to digital.
to digital.
Uh-huh.
I always keep the connection. The key for me is always taking information and something that people learn from the past.
Right. Yeah, you can't go in the future without the past.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I am very respectful with the past.
Yeah, that's why I like the history
You know?
too. Yeah, yeah. So that's why we get on.
So yeah, it's gonna be nice to check the new developments and also the stories about Jaxus and Mika together.
Yeah, it's a new chapter. It's very exciting. So,
Yeah.
Anything else, or are you ready to wrap
Yeah.
up? All
Yes,
right.
we need to
Go check up on
get
the
ready
dogs.
to check what they are doing.
Yeah,
And,
being naughty probably.
and
right?
I'm very happy that we were able to have this recording at the One World Trade Center.
Yes, thank you again for letting me record this here. This is a beautiful venue. I mean, I want to take a picture out there with me and you together.
Of course.
And
Let's do it.
Of course, Mika being here with you now gives me extra incentive to come to New York now, even more than I want to. So.
And I like the fact that when we have these conferences, it's better to be in a quiet environment like this because the views here are so amazing that we can get easily distracted.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your time, and definitely see you around, and we'll hear from you again soon, hopefully.
Perfect.
All right, thank you,
Take
Victor.
care. Bye-bye.
Nice.
It was good?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just here. Welcome back to episode 7 or 8 of Shortcut to the Word with Yazan Amra. I'm your host, Yazan Amra.
By the water in Staten Island.
That's right.
Because when I was very interesting meeting.
And over there, perfect. You came to the States.
Well, I will not do that anymore, but they are still models. And they were.
Nice. Let's see how the video turned out.